In the New York Times, the heartbreak of Kanye West. Writer Dream Hampton blasts the meeting between Kanye and our next guest.
Saying what was dangerous was the way Mr. West included Candace Owens, an alt-right darling, a black woman and puppet, on his broadcast from the TMZ office. Her participation was most likely arranged by alt-right operatives.
She goes on to write, with uncharacteristic generosity, Mr. West, Kanye, ceded the mic to Ms. Owens, who allows a racist, misogynist movement to hold her up as evidence that it is neither. Joins us right now with her shocked reaction, I would imagine, Candace Owens, Director of Urban Engagement with Turning Point USA. She joins us today from Minneapolis.
Good morning.
Candace, hi, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you guys?
Doing okay. A lot in this Dream Hampton op-ed in the New York Times. Where would you like to start?
I guess we can start with the name calling. That's always my favorite part. I mean, am I the only one that feels like this is extremely elementary? It's like walking down the hallways of a middle school. I think pretty soon I'm going to get shoved into a locker by these leftist journalists. It's not to be taken seriously. It's all they have are all of these names that they're continually calling people, and they need to exit that strategy altogether. It's ridiculous.
What stood out the most? Was there a key word or phrase?
I mean, I quite frankly found the entire thing to be hysterical. It lets you know that they're afraid. I think the word dangerous was especially interesting. What's so dangerous about a black woman believing that she can do it without government handouts? What's so dangerous about a black woman that's promoting independence of thought in the black community? Why do they have a vested interest in black people remaining dependent on their narrative is the real question. So that was the adjective that stood out the most to me.
And Candace, if you're a puppet, then who's the puppet master?
Exactly. I'm still trying to figure it out. There seems to be no bottom to all of the names that leftists come out with. I saw an article literally ran that called me a loser. That's what I say when I say that these tactics are elementary. They don't upset me. They don't deter me. If anything, they encourage me, and it has an adverse effect. More people are able to find me and to research and to realize that the media is lying about my message, and they get to ask themselves that important question. Why?
Do you know Dream Hampton? Did she call you for an interview? I mean, she's calling you these names. Does she know you?
Not whatsoever. They have not any of these headlines. None of these journalists have reached out and asked me for a comment because these aren't journalistic pieces. These are hit pieces meant to assassinate my character. And unfortunately, it's not working.
Well, for folks who are unfamiliar with your story, a couple of weeks ago, you were at a town hall and you confronted a Black Lives Matter protester and you countered what they were saying. And then a day or two later, Kanye West said he liked the way you thought. And then everything unraveled on the political left where they came after you. He's in big trouble simply because he likes Donald Trump. And apparently he's not supposed to like Donald Trump.
That's exactly right, and that's what Kanye West was talking about, the thought police. This Dream Hampton writer is a member of the thought police force, where she has decided that black people are not allowed to have different thoughts. Black people are supposed to subscribe to this monolithic thinking that is encouraged by the left, and people like me are willing to stand up to it. As I said before, this does not scare me whatsoever, and I feel tremendously encouraged that these hit pieces will not stop, and they are coming more and more aggressively every single day.
Yeah, Candace, we've come to a point in our country where if you don't like the way someone else thinks, you have to hate them. Why do you feel like the left wants to write all these hit pieces about you and Kanye? Why are you guys such a threat?
Because for a long time, they have had a stranglehold on culture. And as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is really downstream from culture. So if they're unable to control culture, then they're not going to be so successful as controlling the black vote, which they have been tremendously successful in the past. What we're starting to see is black people are no longer looking at the name calling, and they're starting to look at the policies. And the truth is, Democratic policies have decimated our communities over the years. That is the big wake up that they're afraid of. If they only get 85% of the black vote, they will lose 85%, and they still lose. They have a lot to lose if we move the vote by even 5 points.
Joining us now is a huge star, Candace Owens, the communications director for Turning Point USA. Candace, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be in studio with you.
Well, we're excited to have you on the show. Mutual Adoration Society.
Absolutely.
Look, this morning we got the jobs report. 6.6% is the black unemployment rate, if I can put it like that, the lowest ever recorded. Why isn't that message getting out to the black community?
Because they don't want blacks to be independent. We saw that with the State of the Union address, the Black Caucus, which
you're talking about black leadership as
yeah.
opposed to the mass of the black community.
Absolutely. So what it comes down to is that message can't get out because they don't want blacks to be independent. We saw that in the State of the Union address when they sat down when they announced that black unemployment rate was low, and they stood up when Obama was in office for more food stamps.
I don't get it, Candace. I don't get it. I mean, surely the leadership of black America wants real progress.
No.
I don't know. Surely.
Nope, absolutely not. I believe very much that many of them get their pockets lined. You think about Maxine Waters. She's always ranting about racism. She's never talking about all of the positive progress that's happening in the black community right now. But she lives in a $6 million house. So she's made a lot of progress while blacks were suffering in America. So she has no reason to switch her strategy whatsoever.
What you're saying is that black leadership is engaged in the race business. It is a business.
Correct.
You saying that?
That is absolutely right. Race
pretty
has become a business.
Stuff. That's pretty harsh on your part.
It's pretty true stuff as well. You know, it can be harsh and it can also be true. And unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. The black community needs new leaders. That is why I got in this. I understood that race had become a business, and they're risking everything right now, Stuart. Everything.
Extraordinary. Pastor Darrell Scott, I'm sure you know him.
Yes.
I know you know him, and he's a frequent guest on this program. He wants to host a White House summit on the issue of race. I think Kanye will be there, and I think you were the catalyst for this, weren't you?
Correct. So we're doing at Turning Point USA the Young Black Leadership Summit in D.C. And the reason for that, I understand the criticism. A lot of people say to us, well, you can't use race, you can't use identity politics. Yes, we need to do that because there have been so many black conservatives who have had their voices silenced, who have been told they're not allowed to think those ideas. We want to send a message, a strong message to them, to tell them that the time is now and that they are not the only ones. There are plenty of us thinking like them, and it's time for them to feel like they can be leaders in their own communities.
If you get this summit, you get it together, what's the goal? What would you think is the overriding goal of getting everybody together? What is it?
To empower them and to give them a voice and to tell them that they are not traitors as they have been treated. They don't have it wrong as they have been told, that they have it right. And as I said before, the time is right now.
What's the reaction to you? Because you made a big splash. I mean, you really did. What happened to you?
Look, it's love and hate equal parts. I had planned to do this. I said I want to launch an ideological civil war in the black community. I want black people to begin arguing. That's great, because that means that we're not a monolith. It means that we have different ideas. Arguing is good. It means that we're willing to debate and to use facts and data and to research to support our arguments. So I'm very pleased with the business of being loved and hated.
Are we going to get this summit going?
We are absolutely going to get this summit going.
You don't have a date or anything yet, but it's going to happen.
It's 100% going to happen in October of this year.
You know, you work with Charlie Kirk,
yes,
Turning Point USA.
I do.
We always say that he's going to be the president of the United States, maybe 2040, maybe 2044. Are you going to be vice president or press secretary or what?
I would love to be his press secretary. He always says, I'm not going to be the president, I'm not going to be the president. And I say, Charlie, if you don't become the president, then I can't be the press secretary. And I would love to go at the press, let me tell you. That would be the greatest gift ever, to go at them every single day.
Well, here I am.
There you are.
Wouldn't you like to be the president?
No, that is not in the cards for me. I think that's an incredibly stressful job. And I'm too much of a street fighter. I'd get into way too much trouble if I was in the White House.
Now, come on, you're not a street fighter. You're sitting right next to me in a set in New York. You know, you're not a street fighter.
Yeah, but it's harder when you're inside the White House than it is on the outside. So I like to defend the White House from the outside.
Candace, we think you're all right.
Thank you so much.
And we hope you'll come back.
I absolutely will. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Sure thing. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
A writer for The Atlantic is blasting Kanye West's support of President Trump as shockingly ignorant. Atlantic correspondent Ta-Nehisi Coates writing, quote, West calls his struggle the right to be a free thinker. And he is indeed championing a kind of freedom, a white freedom, freedom without consequence, freedom without criticism, freedom to be proud and ignorant. Here to weigh in, CEO of the Black Sphere, Fox News contributor Kevin Jackson joins us today from Phoenix. Kevin, this was quite an article. It was lengthy and very, very long, but he makes some points. And he starts out talking about how when he was growing up, to him, Michael Jackson was a god, and later Kanye West would be a god until this. Kevin.
Oh, I thought you were running a clip. Yeah, well, look, so Michael Jackson was a god until he decided to lighten his skin and take on white features, correct? And the guy wrote the song Black and White. The guy wrote the song Man in the Mirror, or sang the songs rather. And so Michael Jackson was essentially saying, let me grow up to be what I want to be. But what's interesting about the Michael Jackson piece of it is he talks about how Michael's father ridiculed his nose. He talked about how Michael's father ridiculed Michael's skin color. So Michael comes by whatever the pathology you want to think about it, honestly. But the idea that Michael Jackson, who's one of the best entertainers in the world, can't grow up to be whatever he wants to be, I find interesting. Because here's the thing, Steve. Not too many people in the white community care what Eminem has become. He's become one of the most prolific hip-hop artists on the planet, and nobody cares. And look, how many kids do you think want to emulate LeBron James? How many white kids wanted to be Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or the best baseball player or the best whatever? You know, why is it a color limitation thing only for blacks?
Kevin, here's a little bit of the article. He writes, West's thoughts are not original. They are the propaganda that justifies voter suppression and feeds police brutality and minimizes the murder of Heather Heyer. And Kanye West is now a mouthpiece for it.
Yeah, yet again, more of the Black Lives Matter, cops are hunting out black people, the nonsense of the left, and particularly the leftist blacks, who want people to believe that you're black in America. If you're black in America, you have no ability to change your circumstances or to be whatever you choose to be. And he points to two people, Michael Jackson and Kanye West, who have effectively reached the pinnacle. Why not point to Barack Obama and tell us all that Barack Obama couldn't become? Because that's essentially where he's at. If he really wanted to do a dissection of this particular subject, Barack Obama's a perfect example of it.
Real quickly, Kevin, would he have had a problem with Kanye West if Kanye West supported Hillary Clinton?
Of course not. And that's what really is sort of the contradiction is, as long as you support the powerful white person who's got the Democrat after him, Democrat after their name, you're fine. But support Donald Trump, and it's supposedly bad. Look, they're very afraid, Steve, as you know.
All right. Kevin Jackson joined us today from Phoenix, where it's really early.